All right, clap to sync up. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, just like this podcast. Anyway, it's Airborne Sealife time. Hooray!
The time for sea life in the air is now.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Please donate to our charity, corpse paint for walruses. Anyway.
It would be the time for that joke.
It would be the time for that joke. Anyway, welcome to the Airborne Sealife podcast, where we talk about all things metal, all things nonsense, all things fun. We like fun.
Walruses.
Sure.
Hey, walruses are great.
Can we talk about orcas are cooler? I like orcas. Anyway.
They already have corpse paint. He's right.
They do.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
No one ever talks about this.
No.
That's exactly why we need to get the corpse paint to the walruses. The orcas don't need it.
I see. Yeah.
We're going to have a whole mythology.
Anyway,
but
hey, on the topic of sea life, this is unrelated, but I guess I'm gonna make this part of the news segment because I think it's hilarious. Have you guys heard that there's some billionaire in Austria that's trying to build submersible super yachts?
that sounds about right.
It's entirely unsurprising, but
No, it's incredibly unsurprising.
But maybe he can help us with the whole like corpse paint walrus situation.
Assuming his super yachts don't get fucked up by a pod of orcas, yeah.
All right.
Or like glaciers or whatever, or icebergs or something.
Well, all we know is that you fuck with the ocean will return. Speaking of things that are returning, Disturbed is back on tour.
It is.
Which I'm actually low-key really excited for. And Brendan, why are they going back on tour?
Well, we previously mentioned that we're getting to be old guys, and this is why. Because who fondly remembers the sickness from the same band, Disturbed?
Yeah.
Great album. Honestly, a very defining album of that era.
Yeah. Right. It is the 25th anniversary of that album. That album you likely enjoyed in middle school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is now over 2 decades old.
It had been out for a hot second when I first listened to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Let it sink in, boys.
Because I was but a wee child when it first came out. But still.
I think the first time I heard anything of it, Niga Higa, the YouTuber, the famous YouTuber.
Now that makes me feel old.
Yeah, I know, right? He's down with the sickness for some of his videos.
Is he still around?
He just streams now. That's all he does.
Anyway.
He doesn't do YouTube anymore. But anyway, he did that, and that was 2007? And that would have been 8 years after the sickness came out then. So it's crazy to think that it's 25 years old now.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole deal. I remember actively getting down with that song pretty heavily back in the day there. But it was 25 years ago, and you don't think about how old that is.
No, I was 3 when that came out. Jesus Christ.
I still remember seeing that when I was a teenager. Oh God, when it was in the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
So what we're really saying here is Brendan is old.
Hey, shut
up. Brendan is old.
I don't need to take this from the likes of you.
Old. What?
Old.
Point, everyone. Point and laugh.
Old.
Oh, man. But,
anyway.
Why don't we take a look at the article a little bit? Disturbed guitarist Dan Donegan recently chatted with Australia's Everblack podcast about the upcoming anniversary and revealed a surprising fact. He never gets tired of performing those classic songs, opposed to the bands who just play the hits but really wish they wouldn't have to. Just saying that it's crazy that we're going on the 25th anniversary. We wrote it They're 96. Every time play it, where is the part of it here that I really want to say? It's like, I don't, because when you hear the crowd do, we're still getting excited to play it. He also touched on the possibility of a new Disturbed album, whether or not they'll do a 25th anniversary for the sickness. The short answer is both could happen. He didn't really talk about anything specific, but the tour is a little bit more on the menu at the moment. We do like a tour. I mean, who doesn't want to go and see Disturbed live?
I've seen them live once, and they're fucking really fun live.
The pyrotechnics are nuts.
I definitely have not, but I definitely would like to. Like, it was one of those times where, like, I had just... My first live show was Motley Crue when I was in, like, high school, because, like, my parents didn't always, like, want me wandering off in the world for unknown reasons and things. Go figure, maybe I can't be trusted to keep myself out of trouble? I don't know. Shenanigans are afoot where I go, apparently. But I got a little into more of the going to live music a little after the fact. But unfortunately, it is what it is. But that's the cool thing. You always get well, not always. You do occasionally get a mulligan to try that again. And it seems Yusuf's video is gone.
Did Yusuf get eaten?
Yusuf, are you exploded? Oh, he might be doing something that yeah, there he is. We missed you, Yusuf.
Yusuf had to do something quickly. It's okay. Anyway.
That's okay.
Yeah, I like... Disturbed is one of those bands I realized... Because I saw them headline Heavy Montreal 2016. They were co-headlining it with Five Finger Death Punch.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does.
Actually, it's funny, because they were on tour at the time. Twice that year, I think, yeah. Because they were on tour with 3 Days Grace and Breaking Benjamin.
I do like me some Breaking Benjamin.
Same. Yeah,
They're definitely weirder people you could have paired them up with.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, Disturbed going on tour, especially for, like, the anniversary of the sickness, I think it was going to be a very big deal when that tour eventually rolls out. Because that is, like, as I said, it very much is considered a defining album of that era.
Mm-hmm.
Of that kind of, like, they aren't nu metal, but they're in that, like, heavier side of, like, the late 90s, early 2000s.
You wouldn't say they're nu metal? I don't know. Like, what would we...
Right?
Because we're talking about Disturbed?
Yeah.
I call them nu metal.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because, well, yeah, it's just like, when you think of nu metal bands that defined, or that were part of that, like, late 90s, 2000s era, you're looking at, like, Korn, even, like, Linkin Park, to an extent, right? Da Biscuit, of course. Yeah, I don't know if
I'd put them in whatever category you're going to put Slipknot, personally.
Okay, that's fair.
I would put Slipknot in like a harder, kind of like a edgier hardcore.
It's in the same general direction.
Slipknot is that whole other, like, it's in that. I mean, like Manuel and I did this thing years ago with our friend Ro, where we talked about, like, the history of metal and how it evolved. And when we got to the 90s, there was a whole period of, like, yeah, the grunge era happened, but then as soon as grunge was done in the late 90s, you had this period of, like, the nu metal boom, where the couple common things were happening in a lot of bands. One of them being the use of, like, a DJ or, like, electronics in your setup. So, like, Disturbed wasn't really doing that, but Slipknot was, Biscuit was, Linkin Park was. Korn kind of did it, and so that's why I don't entirely put Disturbed in that category of, like, nu metal per se. More just, like, standard heavy metal.
You know, I'm going to lend some credibility to you, Yusuf. I'm going to back you for a second. Because as an experiment, I decided to Google both Disturbed and Limp Bizkit. So under Limp Bizkit, very specifically, it says Limp Bizkit's an American nu metal band. Now, when I put in Disturbed, it says Disturbed is an American heavy metal band. And it would appear that Google is inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, thanks.
But under the genres, nu metal is present, but not the defining one in the description.
Right.
Right.
I think that's like they were they were around in that era, but I don't know if they're defined by that era.
Well, is it one of those things where, like, people just say the term, but then it's not necessarily the appropriate nomenclature for it? For example, people reach for a tissue, but they always call it a Kleenex, regardless of the brand. It's just a Kleenex until the end of time because of good branding.
I feel like that might not be the proper comparison to use, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know,
because,
like, the
well,
right...
it's I mean, it's common in most metal subgenres. Like Manuel and I have gone through this for years now, where you talk about something and someone calls it this, but the other calls it something else.
It's
Yeah.
the thing about genre, and I read an excellent essay on this at one point, where the argument was basically like we spend so much time trying to categorize things into genres when a more useful thing is to categorize things as having aspects of a genre, right?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things that are like, okay, what is this? How do you define it? But when you say, okay, this is a little bit new metal and a little bit heavy metal and a little bit, like alternative rock and whatever, you kind of get a picture of what you're going to expect. Because the purpose of genre, it has no, there is no law of the universe that says what a genre is, right? So it's more like, you know what to expect when someone tells you this is a new metal song. It's more useful as a descriptor than as a category.
I remember the other day, this has nothing to do with music, but I was watching a YouTube video. A more accurate descriptor might be. I was watching a video of, like, a professional botanist was, like, talking about, like, just answering questions from, like, Twitter. And one of them was like, how can you tell the difference between certain plants? Is it the leaves? And it's like, leaves are not a useful marker because certain plant species have very similar leaves, but it's the flowers that really tell you what you're looking for. Because, yeah, certain plants, 5 completely different species can have very similar looking leaves, but no two plants are ever really going to have the exact same kind of floral configuration to it. That might be a little more on brand of a descriptor-ish. Because it's not really... Because, like, a lot of musicians, as you're aware, don't really like the idea of genre. Like, you have a band like Blind Guardian, where you, like Hansi has gone on record and saying, hey, we don't like to consider ourselves a power metal band. And, like, everyone calls them a power metal band, because they have a wide swathing of things. But then you have people like Dragon Force, who's like, yep, power metal, that's who we are. Power,
Which
metal,
I would
metal,
argue
metal.
that Dragon Force is more chiptune metal than power metal, really. But
But to John Q. Everyman, they're not going to know the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Little.
The thing that people forget about language is that language is not... language has no inherent meaning. Language is meant to be useful.
Words are hard, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's enough about Disturbed.
Let's get on to the meat and potatoes today.
It's never enough about Disturbed. So today we're talking about Disturbed. No. So as the Airborne Sealife podcast, we like all manner of things both above and below the ocean. So today we are talking about Exploring Birdsong.
Oh my god.
Was that too smooth for you, Brendan?
I don't know. I feel more smooth brained now. I'm just gonna
No, Exploring Birdsong, I love this band. Exploring Birdsong is I'm going to call them a prog rock trio from England.
Yeah.
To me, they really speak to kind of that classic old school prog sound, but with a lot of modern sensibilities.
But Manuel, there's also a twist to this band. What is the twist?
Yes, the twist is that there's no guitars. The twist is that the main feature of the band is piano and voice, performed by Lindsey Sterling, who is one of my favorite singers at this point. She's awesome.
You know what?
Confused with the violin virtuoso Lindsey Sterling.
Sorry, not Lindsey Sterling. Lindsey Ward. I'm an
There
idiot.
you go.
I'm also tired, and my allergies are terrible today. So
Oh,
ignore
man, it sucks,
everything
yeah.
I'm saying.
We record these early in the day, guys. This is
Yeah.
how it is.
No.
We record these in the before noon times.
The before
Yeah.
4 times.
Excuse me, Lindsay Ward. Lindsay Ward, phenomenal pianist, excellent singer, and then there is bass and drums. That's it.
Yep.
When did I show you this band, Yusuf? It was I was at your house, I think.
Yeah, so this
we
is
lost
20... Brendan. Oh, no.
No, you
This
didn't.
was
I'm just doing
He's-
things.
oh my.
2020?
Yeah, it was right before NAMM. It was right before NAMM 2020.
Well, yeah, it would have been that time you came over. Right.
Yeah, and I showed you the thing with feathers, and right after you
Yeah.
showed me terraformers. So
Yeah. So we were both like... You showed me the thing with feathers, because then there was... What song is it that I'm thinking of? I keep listening to. From them. The Sinking Feeling.
Sinking Question.
Sinking Question, sorry, yeah.
Sinking Question's awesome.
That,
I love.
that's
So the song we're talking about, or we're focusing on today, is the new one, The Collapse. They have this one is more straightforward than a lot of their stuff. They do this thing that I really like when it's done well, which is just to pick a time signature and just see how much fun you can have with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that album, the thing with feathers, it's got all kinds of stuff that's like, okay, this is the song that's in 7. Enjoy.
I mean, oh yeah. So it's funny, like, this is going to sound like an insane comment, but like, I actually didn't even really notice there were no guitars in the song. I was just so immersed in the experience of it that like, I didn't even realize, oh wow, there really actually aren't any guitars in this. It's just like a delivery of a concept.
It's such a sound world that they create. It's like, here, come live here for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, the absence of guitar didn't even bother me. It's just like everything about this just like fit together really well. I listened to the song a couple of times last night. I really wanted to like extrapolate. Like, I just really I did the whole thing I usually do where I found like a narrative to it. But why don't you give us a little bit about like the breakdown of like what you interpret this song is putting together for us here?
To me, this feels more, again, I said more straightforward, but also it's got both this very epic and this very, like, almost mournful feel to it for me.
Serenity would be a good word.
Yeah, serenity, but it's also like, the song's called The Collapse, and it's definitely not a cheerful song.
Oh no. I got a whole thing prepared.
Yeah.
No.
But it does, again, it welcomes you into this world of sound that it creates, and it's not totally devoid of hope, just not lyrically. I'm not talking lyrically, but I'm talking about the way it makes you feel. It's like there's still something left here, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah.
No, I think I agree with you.
Yeah. The rhythms are a lot more straightforward than a lot of their songs. It really focuses her voice, which is just awesome.
I mean, it is a great voice. She's such a talented singer. Like,
yeah, and she's also a pianist.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. This is a band that clearly like lets the music do the talking. Like, they don't feel like there's any real gimmick here because they have such like like, you take like a band like Evanescence, which is like, I would argue there's like a similar, not a similar melancholy, but like they're both in like the melancholic kind of family with this song.
Or like Lacuna Coil even.
Yeah, oh definitely.
Yeah.
There's definitely that,
or
like,
Lacuna Coil, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But like, when it comes to like a song like this, I always like to try to like look at the music video as well and see how it correlates to everything. Because the one thing that I really enjoy is when a music video is done supremely well and it tells part of the story. And for me, especially looking at it and looking at the lyrics, this song I took a little extra time analyzing, because in the beginning I couldn't really understand like why the music video was the way it was, because there really wasn't a whole lot of different effects and things. It was just a consistent like splitting of people, almost like you're separating someone from like a ghost, and a lot of blurring. And I'm wondering, what in the hell is the story here trying to tell here? It didn't make sense at first. But then, looking at the title and looking at the lyrics of it, because you look at things like, let's take a good spot here. Let me find a good, here we go. What doesn't kill you make you fast. I couldn't outrun the collapse. Maybe I'm being buried by your foolish pride, dying by your side. The reason the video is put together the way it is, because it's not necessarily trying to tell you any other story, but it's conveying the idea that you are on the verge of a collapse. Like your vision is doubling, it's blurring, it's almost like you are suffocating. And then when I looked back, it's like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. It's geniusly put together. Like it's good it's an execution of visual storytelling and lyrical storytelling in one package. It's perfectly done.
It's also like the fact that there's only 3 of them and there's no guitars, and it makes it very focused. It makes it so that like that piano and the voice are just like that's the feature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can hear everything she's singing. There's so many bands where you can't really hear the lyrics the first time you listen to the music. This is not one of them. You hear every word saying.
Yep.
And it's a very sad song. It's kind of, they heading for a collapse. What doesn't kill you makes you run fast. It's, I said there's a bit of hope. There's no hope in these lyrics. The hope is in the music for me. And to me, it's also very topical, just like everyone feels like they've kind of given up a little bit these days. But, I'm sorry, Brendan, you were in the middle
No,
of...
because I wanted to hear that, because I don't 100% agree with what you're saying, because you are correct, but I also feel that my interpretation of the song was that the whole point of the song is like, yeah, there is a hopelessness, but I think that within the lyrics, I think there is an element that like you can at some point ask for that help, because it's almost an acknowledgement of purposely putting yourself in a situation where you just don't ask for help from people, and the collapse that comes from burying yourself under all of that like emotional distress and psychological pressure. I think almost a part of the song, that part of hope that's coming out, is the moment where you realize that you can ask people for help, and you can ask for people to help get you out of that self-isolation almost. I obviously could be wrong.
In a sense, this kind of music is as old as humanity. Like, this very elegiac. It feels like the song itself is almost the asking for help. If you know what I mean, it's a lot of times in almost every human culture I can think of, poetry and song are used to express things that are very difficult to express with words. And this feels like the modern equivalent of an elegy, or some bard somewhere singing about how his farm burned down, or whatever it is.
I think you're right. I think this is something where it's entirely something where it's not going to be just handed to you, because while the lyrics themselves are very straightforward on what they're trying to convey, it's how they're meant to be interpreted is entirely subjective for a song like this. It's not heavy-handed. It's not in such a way, because I think one of the biggest points of focus of the song is its lyrical composition. I think that is one of the breads and butters of this song, because yes, lyrically it's all very good. It's just and the way her vocals come in, it's like not only are her voice and her piano almost one instrument, but it's almost just like this synthy way of doing it. I don't really know how to explain it. It's haunting the way that her voice is delivered in the song. It's ephemeral is I think another good way to describe it. It's ephemeral in a way where it's delivering on that type of tone that it wants to deliver. Because it's very easy to drop a ball on a song like this. It's very easy to come off as like schlocky or hulky or like corny. It's tasteful in a way. It's like you said, there's really no real easy one word solution to the song. It's very,
Yeah.
very difficult to quantify, I think.
To me, there's something of Steven Wilson in this
Mhm.
band, in general, and very much in this song. I'm thinking particularly of my favorite Porcupine Tree song, Lazarus, if you know the song. It also has a beautiful, beautiful piano and a very, very sad story to it.
Mhm.
Um, but this, like, it's not heavy-handed. It's very nostalgic, melancholic.
Mhm.
It's not like metal when it laments, it laments powerfully. It's angry and depressed and sad. This isn't that.
You know what? I'm gonna touch on one more idea, and then I really want to hear from Yusuf as well, because I want to hear his takeaway. What if the song is representing looking back on a time in your life when this was your state of affairs? Maybe that's where the hopeful element comes from. Maybe this is looking back on a time in life and looking, because the hopefulness could be that you're looking back on when your life was really bad and you felt like you were suffocating, but you are now in a place where you are better off. That could be the hopeful sauce that we are detecting in the song.
Yeah.
Yusuf,
Hi,
hi.
Hello,
You've been.
Yusuf.
I'm here. Hello,
I want to give you
gentlemen.
the floor a bit.
All right, that's fine. I'll take the floor. I don't, like, it's interesting. The vibe I've gotten from this song, listening to it a couple times, there's like the lyrical content obviously makes you feel otherwise, and you guys have been discussing this through the episode so far. Like, there's this kind of sense of not hope, but to me, it feels like there's an arm reaching out, and it's the arm is telling you, "Hey, I can help you." And you're thinking, okay, well, you're in a bad place right now. It'd be nice to grab that hand and go wherever it might lead. And then you kind of realize, like, oh wait, they said can, they didn't say will.
Mm.
There's uncertainty there, and I think it's that uncertainty that, despite this very, there are moments in this song that feel so like happy and energetic that make you kind of want to. Please excuse me for 1 second while I visually demonstrate a good old.
Oh man, that's you've nailed it.
Moments like that, especially there's that moment where it's hold on, it's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds or 2 minutes and 20 seconds into it, where it's kind of that break after the bass, and it's just that ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. It's just kind of like, you're like, yeah, but then you realize that's part of the uncertainty. It's to distract you from realizing, like, there's actually nothing here.
Just a quick question to you. Do you think perhaps
Sure.
that the interpretation of the song is more the tension in between the moment where you have the outstretched hand and the indecision as to whether or not you will take that hand and to lift yourself up or sink back down?
I'd say so.
Mm.
I'd say so. It because it's that there's this whole moment I believe that everyone has at least once in their life where they're offered help in a time of despair, and you feel like you have to act quickly on it, but you have to think about it as well,
Mhm.
because if you act quickly, what are the repercussions of it, right?
Mm.
You know, and like I said, it's not a matter of the hand says I can help you, not I will. So there's a lot of unknown to what happens if you grab the hand. So there's that moment. It feels like the second half of the song feels like something out of an anime to me, where like it's exactly that situation where like you're looking at the hand, you want to reach for that hand, and there's this moment of like essentially it's the mental state that you're in, that I think that second half really sort of visualizes, if you will, or I guess this visualizes that, you get the idea, where you're now in this thinking period, all time has stopped, and it's just this constant barrage of thought, and you're like, okay, what happens if I take the hand? What happens if I don't take the hand? Right? Which then, you know, it's just that really cool instrumental break, basically, and then knocks back into the chorus where you realize, like, maybe I shouldn't take the hand. You know?
Maybe that,
But
like,
yeah.
do I deserve to take the hand would be another way to look at it.
Yeah, do I deserve to take the hand, or even just like, yeah, because even after, like, the way I like to think about these things is the way a song will structurally change over time. And so, like, when you take that last chorus, right, it's got that straightforward, just, you know, the bass doing the hits underneath it while, you know, Lindsay's just doing her thing. She sounds lovely doing it. But then the second time they do that last chorus, they're doing it in, like, with just hits, bump. Or how does it go? Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
da. So you're like, wait, what? Like, wait,
Which is, by the way, an excellent thematic development.
Oh yeah, yeah, just a
This classic, take the chorus, make it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And you're making it bigger, but because you're taking like, if you think about it, like I use this whole web analogy whenever I explain shit like this. So if you're thinking about like that, right? I'm gonna cover my head like this to do that. So if you're thinking about this web analogy like this, right? You're kind of taking away everything in the middle, and you're leaving the ends. Because now you're going, okay, well, I know what, like, you have an idea now of what happens if you take the hand and what might happen if you take the hand. But then you also have the idea of, like, oh, but this might happen if I take the hand. So you now have both sides of the coin as you take away the rest of the chorus, and you realize there's this emptiness in there now. There's all these gaps. There's this space. And you go, okay, is this what the trajectory is if I take the hand? Like, will it be smooth sailing, like in the first time of the last chorus? Or will it be rocky? Will it be bumpy? Will it be both?
Yeah, that is actually a really good interpretation, because I think to what you're saying, a lot of it is like the indecision of, do I take a hand? And I think a large portion of the song is even perhaps, is we always go back to that part of it where there's just almost the suggestion of hope. Maybe not outwardly stated hope, but a suggestion, the vague outline of hope. But perhaps that sensation is the desire for there to be that outcome, that desire to relieve the pressure almost, and bring yourself out of that headspace. Because the song is almost an homage to just suffocating and wanting badly to get out of that suffocation.
Right.
And it's reflected tonally, compositionally, and lyrically. It's just so well put together for this idea that I think I really like your interpretation of it.
Yeah. I like to think of these things in terms of the music itself, not so much on lyrics, because like lyrics, there are ways you can interpret that. It can be a million other ways. With the way the music is structured, it changes things, and I like to look at it that way, because you never really know what you're gonna think of and how that, you never. What is it like? The perception of the way a river flows is based on how far you are from it, and the closer you get, you realize the faster it actually is, or the more different than what you initially perceive. It's like you watch like a body of water moving from a far distance, right? it doesn't look like it's moving at all.
Mhm.
As you get closer, you realize it's fucking rabbits or something.
Rabbits?
Rabbits.
Rabbits.
Oh, I heard rabbits.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew what he was saying. I just wanted you to talk that out for a little bit.
I was
Yeah.
confused for a second.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
all right.
But no, that's my whole take on it. And like, there's moments in the song that like, it's a testament to the band not having guitars, but still able to sound so dense in a good way.
Mhm. There's a lot of heavy lifting that the bass does because they mix the bass in such a way that it fills out a lot more of the frequency spectrum than it normally would if there were guitars. But that does also make, like, when the choruses come in, if you'll notice, the bass gets way bigger and it just sort of fills everything in really nicely.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't notice the absence of a guitar, because it was mixed in such a way that I didn't even feel necessary.
They may have layered, I mean, studio's the studio, they may have laid in a couple guitars under there just for some extra sauce.
I mean, even then, when you listen to it, like, there's so much low end and roundness to it. It doesn't really feel like there's any guitars in there.
No, but anyone who's done a proper studio recording knows that stuff goes into that you never would notice if you weren't paying attention. So who knows? If you know, come on and tell us. And if you are exploring Birdsong, come on and talk to us, maybe.
Yeah, let's talk. That would be fun.
Or if you're just all of Birdsong, just come and
if you're just a lot of birds, we would love to hear from you.
If you're just a bunch of birds in a trench coat flying around like some drones, come on down.
Just don't be geese.
No, I will talk to a goose. I will.
I won't. Cobra chickens,
I don't want to get
bro.
bit in the face.
Yeah, you telling me you want to talk to a cobra chicken?
Anyway.
Everything we fear as man. This got off the rails.
This is derailed into geese terrorism.
I think we're some atrocities with geese, but anyway.
It's a federal fine if you kill one here.
Yeah, it's for the Migratory Bird Act. Same here.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't in place, I'd totally have like a goose on a leash, like an attack goose.
I could see that. Or you tie the necks together, make some goose chucks.
Anyway, this has gone way off the rails. Do we have any final thoughts about
one more goose joke away from me just abruptly ending the episode? I think we're good here.
I love this band. It's very, it's got some Steven Wilson in there. It's got some classic old prog in there. It's got some modern pop in there. The piano playing is phenomenal. The singing is incredible.
Yeah. I really wish they would come to the Americas.
They were touring with Sleep Token for a bit, but I think that was just a European tour. So hey, maybe if we make them popular enough, they'll come here.
Maybe, yeah. There you go.
That would be artificially inflation. I like it.
Token? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this has been the Airborne Sealife podcast on Exploring Birdsong's The Collapse.
You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, social media shit. We will be back with another rousing episode on who knows what we're going to talk about. We'll figure that out later. But yeah. Anyway, on that note,
go
listen to Yusuf's new album or EP.
Go listen to that. Listen to the rest of these episodes because we do a lot of this shit. And keep flying.